Smash's annual water park major returns as Ohio welcomes players from all over the world for Riptide 2024 this weekend. At the same time, deep within the walls of the Kalahari Resort, another Smash event lives on in the shadows. Undertow is one of the biggest destinations for Project Plus and HDR players this year, and this weekend, one of the biggest HDR tournaments of all time takes place. With most of the best players in the world attending and the end of the year quickly approaching, Undertow is going to be one for the history books. Here are 5 things you need to know about HDR at Undertow. With Undertow taking place right next to Riptide, the crossover between games at both events isn't surprising. However, this year, HDR caught the eyes of 2 of Melee's finest players. SC and Asashi, ranked 79th and 80th respectively on the 2023 SSBM rank, are both competing in HDR this weekend. Asashi has plenty of experience with the game already, playing frequently with some of the game's best online, but has rarely entered events. When he's not winning off-brand Rivals 2 events or hitting clips with Marth in Project Plus, he's pushing the limits with Ken, the newest addition to his HDR character lineup. Along with his expertise across a handful of other characters, it would not be a surprise to see him make a deep run in this bracket. Meanwhile, the other top 100 Melee representative has rarely played HDR in 2024. Before a 3rd place finish at Tech Zone 3 in Illinois last weekend, Essie did not compete in an HDR bracket since October of last year. However, with Essie competing in Project Plus more actively this year, she's now competing in both P Plus and HDR at Undertow this weekend with her signature Lucas. We'll see how she fares against some of the strongest competition this weekend. It's no surprise to see a strong list of competitors deep into the field for a tournament as large as Undertow. Calling some of these players hidden bosses would be mislabeling them, especially considering some of them were ranked last year. 2023's ranked 20 player Stingers leads this pack, always with a variety of characters in his back pocket. New England's best are also making an appearance this year, as Squid Enthusiast, Karo, and Kumatora, both ranked in the top 50 last year, represent the region alongside Lucky Bee, recently ranked 3rd on the New England PR. Washington's top 3 in Recupid, JC Onyx, and Saugert are also going to be flying into the Midwest to take on the best, with Recupid having a solid 4th place finish at the Canadian Regional The Black Market earlier this summer. Clip Monster and Space Animal Extraordinaire Andrews, also known as Skibbity Maxer 04, is also competing in his first offline bracket since Gigaton Hammer 2. Despite other games like Deadlock currently eating up his time, Canada's Mangachu is returning to the States for the first time since last year's Honeypot 6 as well. Finally, Tri-State has a spacey duo of Christmas and Air Gordon backing up the long list of Tri-State talent at Undertow. Christmas's 17th place at Gigaton Hammer 2 was no surprise to players in region, even with the little amount of attendance that he has. On the other side of the coin is Air Gordon, and he's been on a tear recently in region, while also invading New England, taking home 2nd place at Terminal Velocity in July. Now, I know that was a lot of players to keep track of, but trust me, all of these players can and will shake up the bracket this weekend. The question is, who's going to make their move first? HDR's strongest region is showing out in full force for Undertow. With almost half of the 2023 HD ranked spots going to Tri-State players, their depth as a region truly shows when competing against the best from around the world. Leading the charge are Frozen and Are Hungry, 2 players who've shown their talent throughout the year with wins at majors under both their belts. Rex has shown a return to form as well with his pair of wins at Tri-State Regionals Creed 3 and Garden Brawl this summer. And last year's 2nd best player, Mr. Mojo Ryzen, is never a player that you can count out, especially considering he placed 2nd at Undertow last year. The Philly duo of Beast and JM13 are also going to be wobbling their way down to Undertow with a ton of momentum on their backs. Beast recently won the Supernova Shadow Major over Ant, and JM13 has been putting up strong results in region all year round. Last year's top 25 players in Papaya, Mr. Watch and Learn, and Chut have all taken some step backs from competing in HDR this year, but their potential to make deep runs is never to be underestimated. Kamix's 3rd place finish at Gommel and Anchor's 1st place finish at Terminal Velocity are runs that can easily be replicated at Undertow. As well as everyone's favorite everyone's favorite Lucario player, Malarson, showing some strong consistency throughout the year with some high peaks like a win on Ozma and Frosty Faustings. No matter who you pick out of the Tri-State roster, you can expect them to show up at Undertow and take down any region if it comes down to a crew battle. The Midwest once again defends their home turf from the world's best players, and their record in the past has been quite good. In 2022, Ohio's own Soft as Silk took the crown at Undertow, and Ozma followed up that act next year, defeating Mr. Mojo Ryzen in Grand Finals. At Frosty Faustings, another premier event in the Midwest, Raven King and Frosty defended against out-of-region players in 2023 and 2024, respectively. With the support of HD-ranked top 50 players Kicker, Tyroy, and 22 James, as well as Star, who slotted in the Area 51 spot, the Midwest has an intimidating lineup for competition looking to make a name at one of the biggest events of the year. All of these players will be at Undertow this year looking to secure a win for the Midwest 3-peat, but there is one blemish on their record when it comes to defending their region: Frozen. At Warp Zone 2 and Honeypot 6 last year, as well as Super TPS 3 this year, Frozen has claimed the crown for herself. Will the Midwest be able to stop her this time around? Oh yeah, and speaking of Frozen, for a game as chaotic as HDR is, there's one player that has an unparalleled level of consistency throughout its existence. Frozen, the reigning #1 player from the 2023 HD rank, has rarely placed outside the podium for an HDR event, and this year has looked no different. Although she placed second at LMBM's Shadow Major Gigaton Hammer 2 in January after losing to Mugen, that has been the only time this year she would not place first in an event. With Mugen not competing in HDR at Undertow, the question now becomes who's going to stop her from winning the event. It's a question that honestly has a short list of answers, which does make sense when you're called the Queen of HDR. However, the Queen has shown that she can bleed while competing in both her home region of Tri-State and while traveling down to the Midwest for Super TPS 3. Mr. Mojo Ryzen took a set at Aftershock back in March and looks to return to form at Undertow, a tournament that he placed second at last year. R-Hungry, who was ranked 15th in 2023, has looked like a top 5 player all year long with a set win on Frozen at Philly Regional Bay, a tournament win at Gommel, and along with a slew of wins at the Tri-State events that he enters. Frosty, ranked 8th in 2023, also took a set while defending his home region at Super TPS 3, which was the last time that Frozen was in the Midwest, before she eventually won over him in Grand Finals. But with Frosty's dominance in the Midwest, perhaps it's time for him to get his revenge. Or maybe it's somebody entirely new. With the level of talent competing this weekend, who even knows what's in store? Still though, when the going gets tough and even if she does drop a set, Frozen gets it done. Being the target everyone's aiming for is nothing new for her, and it would be no surprise to see her on stage Sunday holding the trophy. With the competition gearing up this weekend, Undertow is going to be a tournament full of surprises from start to finish. Make sure to tune into the action from Friday to Sunday at twitch.tv/yachtclubhq. Links in the description. And trust me, you do not want to miss this.